Okay, so we are continuing our football club history series. Now, in the next couple of club histories, we're going to Spain. In this video, we're looking at the history of Athletic Bilbao, commonly known locally as Athletic or Athletic Club. They play in the Estadio San Mamés, which has a capacity of 53,289. The club itself was founded on the 18th of July, 1898. Some key interesting facts about Bilbao. They've never been relegated from La Liga since its foundation in 1929. There are only two other clubs alongside them who've never been relegated from the top flight. That is Barcelona and Real Madrid. It's also famous for its Cantara selection policy. So they only sign players who've played at other Basque clubs in their careers or have come through their own youth academy and youth system from the Basque area. They select from around the Basque area their youth players. So you either have to have a connection to the Basque country by playing there at a previous club, and we'll look at some of their rivals where they have pinched players from in the past, or you come through the local youth academy. They will not sign a player who has not played in the Basque country. They are the only club left with a Cantara policy such as that. All other clubs have abandoned their locals-only selection policy. They're also one of only 4 Spanish clubs owned by their members. The other 3 are Barcelona, Real Madrid, and one of their local rivals, Osasuna. So they are a very unique club in some of the ways they operate, and also never been relegated from La Liga. Only 2 other clubs can boast that on their CV. Now, their honours. They were very, very successful before the Spanish Civil War, and if you know your history, the Spanish Civil War raged from 1936 till 1939. Spain obviously did not take part in World War II, and under the Franco regime, the club had some more success in Spanish history, and then after the restoration of the monarchy, they had some further success. However, their Cantara policy is starting to hinder the club's success to a certain aspect. They've only won 2 trophies in the last 40 years. So some say that Cantara policy is harming the club a little bit. Others say it's unique and they should continue with it. Other people say they should tweak their Cantara policy somewhat to select just Spanish players. But there we go. Anyway, they're honoured. So they've won La Liga 8 times. So this isn't just Real Madrid and Barcelona and occasionally Atletico winning all the time. They've won the league 8 times. They first win the league in its first ever season in the 1929-1930 season. They win it again the following year in 1930-31. They win it again in 1933-34. And in the last season before the Spanish Civil War, they win it in the 1935-36 season. After the Spanish Civil War, they win it in the 1942-43 season. This is in the middle of World War II, so Spain as a neutral country, not many restrictions on its civilians. After World War II, they win the league 3 more times, the 55-56 season. And in the early 80s, they were a very good side. They win it again in the 82-83 season, and finally in the 83-84 season. So they sometimes do quite well at defending their league title. That was the last of their La Liga titles, was in 1984. So 39 years ago. So they haven't won the league for the best part of 4 decades. The Copa del Rey, again, they've not won the Copa del Rey for 39 years, but they've won it 23 times. Only one other side has won more Copa del Reys than Athletic Bilbao, and that is Barcelona. So how the Copa del Rey has been structured, sometimes they structure it over the whole season, sometimes in the second half of the season. So they won it in 1903, 1904, 1910, 1911, 1914, 1915, 1916, 1921, 1923, 1930, 1931, 1932, 1933, 1943. So there's a gap of 10 years there. Shocking by Bilbao standards in the Copa del Rey. 1944. Then they played the Copa del Rey over the 1944-45 season. They win it in the 1944-45 season. They win it again in the 1949-50 season. Then they win it in 1955, 1956, 1958, 1969, the 1972-73 season, and finally they did a league and cup double in the 83-84 season. That was the last time they won the Copa del Rey. Then they've won the Supercopa Espana 3 times. In fact, they had a treble in 1984 because they won the Supercopa Espana in 1984. They won it again in 2015. And finally, most recently, the COVID-disrupted 2020-2021 season, they won it the 3rd and final time. They've also won 2 defunct competitions. Now, the Copa Eva Duarte is sort of similar to the Spanish Super Cup. It took place during the Franco era. They won that in 1950. And the Copa de la Coronación, they won in 1902, which was a forerunner to the Copa del Rey. And under Spanish FA rules, they don't consider it the first season of the Copa del Rey. It's a one-off Spanish Cup title that they won. It was in honour of the coronation of King Alfonso XIII. So there you go. That was in 1902. So they've won a fair bit of silverware. The last 2 trophies, the Copa Eva Duarte and the Copa de la Coronación, they're not participated for anymore. Now, their main rivals, there's a lot of Basque clubs on here, and of course Real Madrid and Barcelona for obvious political reasons, but Real Sociedad is their biggest rival. Now, Real Sociedad's fortunes have slipped somewhat in more recent years. Real Madrid, obviously, because of the Madrid-Basque kind of rivalry, because Bilbao and people from the Basque country don't like the central government in Madrid. And if you remember back in the 70s, 80s and 90s, there was a fair bit of political terrorism with ETA, for example. Very similar to the troubles in Northern Ireland. Basque people do not like people from Madrid and Castilians. It's a thing. Barcelona, they don't like Catalans either. That goes back to the Spanish Civil War. There's a regional rivalry there because Bilbao and Barcelona are industrial hubs of Spain, and there's a big rivalry there. They don't like each other very much. Famously, in that Copa del Rey final, Diego Maradona started a riot. Let that one sink in. Deportivo Alavés, another Basque club, big rivalry there. Eibar, another big rivalry there, and finally Osasuna. And another part of this rivalry is Bilbao seems to pinch players from the other Basque clubs because they just are more successful. So there's their rivals. There's a brief history of Athletic Bilbao, otherwise known as Athletic Club by the locals, or the Lions because of the Sham Manish stadium. Sham Manish, the saint, he was a Christian saint thrown to the lions by the Romans, so they're sometimes nicknamed the Lions. That is a brief history of Athletic Bilbao. Thank you very much for watching. There will be a couple more Spanish clubs coming later today. Thank you for that. Please place your comments in the comment section below, and I'll have some more content for you very, very soon.